Hello everybody and welcome back. Just wanted to make a quick video on how I dip my corals before I introduce them into my quarantine tank. Some people might say this is a little overkill, but I don't take any risk. So over here we have my new corals that are going to be being introduced. First bucket that they go into is flatworm exit. And you'll notice I write the doses on the bucket so it's easy to measure this out. I use about 2 cups. So this flatworm exit, that's 6 drops in there. Bayer, 10 mils per cup in the second pail. Coral RX in pail number 3. Medi Coral in pail number 4, just to kind of repair any of the damage that could have been potentially done. And pail number 5 is just a rinse. You can see all my doses that I'm using on the buckets right there. So let's go ahead right now and let's get these corals into the first bucket, and then I'll stop and show you each step what I'm doing. Pretty much just going to base them off if there's any AEFW or any other pest on them. Hopefully we're able to remove them throughout each one of these steps. This is a little overkill. I find it hard to believe if anything would make it through these, but you never know. Okay, some of these chemicals that we're using to dip these corals in are pretty potent and some are pharmacy grade, so definitely want to make sure that you're wearing gloves. And right now I'm just going to go ahead and introduce each one of these corals into the first bucket. The water that I'm using in each one of these buckets is actually out of my main tank. It's already been heated up, already at the right temperature, and I had these corals acclimating in that tank just in their plastic bag, so I already know they're acclimated and ready to go and will be fine in this water. Alright, so there we go. I have all the corals in the first bucket in the flatworm exit. See them all in there. Just going to leave them in there for about 45 minutes. Every 15 minutes I'm going to come and base them, and then each one of these buckets, the corals will get 15 minutes in each one of those. The only one that I use 45 minutes is the flatworm exit at first. So check back in with you in 45 minutes when we're ready to take these out. Alright, it's been 45 minutes now. Let's go ahead and get them out of the flatworm exit and get them into the Bayer dip. I already have the dip prepared over here, 10 mils per cup of Bayer. And this is the Bayer you want to get. This is just the Bayer insect killer. That's the stuff that works. Alright, so I'm going to pull these frags out of the flatworm exit and then just baste. Usually I do this down in the bucket, but I'm going to pull it up a little bit so you guys can see. Baste every single side with quite a bit of force. You want to blow off any bugs that could be potentially still attached to these down into the container in the bottom. And also, you want to get the plug a little bit too. Definitely make sure you're wearing your gloves. Bayer is not good stuff to get on you. So this plug looks pretty good now. Just going to go ahead, drop it right into the Bayer dip. Bayer dip works pretty good at killing all the bugs. If I had to choose 2 dips, it would be the Coral RX and the Bayer dip, especially for eliminating the AEFWs or acro-eating flatworms. Flatworm exit works on a few flatworms, but doesn't really work on the acro-eating flatworms. So the only downside to Bayer that Coral RX has a little bit of an upside is that you can't really see into it because it's pretty opaque. Whereas Coral RX is pretty nice and clear. You can see right through it and you can see what you've killed. At the end of the Bayer dip, I like to dilute the solution a little bit and see what all is dead in the bottom of it. Alright, that's pretty good here. Pop you guys over here and you can kind of take a look. See the solution down in here? Very opaque from the Bayer. Flatworm exit is pretty clear. I'll show you guys the Coral RX when we get to that step. As for now, they're going to sit in the Bayer dip for 15 minutes and then we'll come back and we'll get them into the Coral RX. Alright, I just got done pulling all the frags out of the flatworm exit, getting them into the Bayer. Kind of see what we got in here. Little bit of amphipods, some kind of worm over here, and these little specks all here in the middle and over there are all sorts of kinds of flatworms, so this definitely did this job. Now they're all over here in the Bayer. We'll see how that does. For Bayer, just I want to point out here that I have used higher dose than 10 mil per cup. I think I bumped it up to 15 mil per cup or 20 mil per cup. and I did start noticing some acro bleaching after I got done pulling them out of the bath. So that's why I use 10 ml per cup, and that's really the recommended out there. You just want to make sure that you leave them in here for at least 15 minutes, but really not longer than 20 minutes, or else they could start to bleach as well, to get your acro-eating flatworms off your acros. Alright, another 15 minutes is up. Now we're just going to do the same thing we did with the first bath. Just going to pull out a frag and just baste it off every side again, as well as the frag plug. After you get done with that, goes right into the Coral RX dip. Okay, another 15 minutes has went by. We're almost done. Now we're going to go in the Medi-Coral. And this bath is just to kind of repair a little bit of the tissue damage that may have occurred. So same thing going from this bath to the next bath. We're just blowing them off with the baster on all the sides. I do also want to point out that you don't have to do every single one of these baths. A lot of people just do a Bayer bath and that is sufficient for them. I like to do a few different other baths because each one specializes in a different kind of bug that they're removing. Sometimes the Coral RX works better for some, and the Bayer works better on others. However, there is no replacement for buying from a reputable seller that just doesn't have any bad bugs to begin with. Right now, Coral RX Bayer bath, these are not going to remove acro-eating flatworm eggs, if there are any on these. I do not believe there are, because this was bought from a reputable reseller, so I think I'm good. I'm just trying to get rid of any surface bugs that might be hitchhiking on these, any sort of worms, just anything that I don't want to end up in my quarantine tank and then end up in the main tank. Just trying to remove anything as possible. Alright, gonna just show you the Coral RX bath here. Pretty clean. Not much left. I see a few dark spots, but I don't think those are any bugs on there. So I think after they go through the Medi-Coral and then just a quick rinse, we'll be able to add these in the tank and be done after that. Alright, we are finally done. Just gonna go ahead, blast these off real quick. This Medi-Coral, not really trying to remove any bugs. Just pretty much giving it one last cleaning, dropping it in the rinse bucket. I'll leave them in the rinse for maybe about 5 minutes, just give them a quick swirl and then add them into the quarantine tank. Hopefully within a day or two, we'll at least start seeing some polyps open up. One other thing that I do want to add is that if you do have, especially on frags like zoas or mushrooms, some algae around the bottom of the frag plug, you can use a little bit of peroxide and a Q-tip. I just use the peroxide that you get from the store. Don't dilute it at all. Put some on a Q-tip and just brush on the frag. Zoas will close up. You might see them excrete a little liquid, kind of like a slime material. That's completely fine and normal for zoas and mushrooms. Just leave it on there for just a few seconds and then put them right in the rinse bucket. That algae should die within a matter of no time at all. You put it in the tank. You'll also notice that it will kill coralline algae. One thing you want to make sure that you do not do, especially with the acros though, if you're going to do with peroxide, make sure you do not get it on any part of the acro. Fine to get it down here around the base of the plug, right here on the super glue, but if you get it on the acro skin, within a few seconds the coral will just be bleached in that spot, so make sure you don't do that. If you guys have any pointers, questions, comments, make sure you leave them down below. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, and make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. Also make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next videos I will be posting, and leave your questions, comments, and suggestions below.